Welcome to the Men's Movement, the podcast that helps you move in the right direction. Here's your host, Jack, the world's first personal entertainer.
Hi guys, I'm Jack Revens, a trainer from Down Under. I've done 40 years of fitness and I've worked with lots of guys and I've done all sorts of things. So you'll hear live in this week's live stream where we cut through the industry crap and we get right through the stuff that makes you keep reaching for the front door and keep being the front door champions. We want to do this and we want to do this live. We support this live. We've got a program called the Front Door Champions. And we help you by keeping it real and keeping it live each week, giving you support. So a bit of background, guys. I've been a trainer for 4 decades. I've authored a book, Big Fat Lies. I've created the Front Door Challenge. I've helped hundreds of people get through the front door. I've worked with thousands of clients. And what I've noticed over those 4 decades is people are in what I describe are living in silent despair, not just physically, but emotionally. They're living in silent despair. So by using the Front Door Challenge, we're hoping to get you through the front door and helping change the shape of the whole community one step at a time. Because if we can get you moving and change you, we can create a ripple effect in the whole community and change the whole shape of the whole community one step at a time. So we're going to do this using the Front Door Challenge, but also encouraging you to get out the front door and be part of the movement. And then weekly, what we do on these live streams is we chat, we give you support, we give you ongoing feedback. You guys can touch base with me later in the show. I'll show you how you can touch base with me and feature on these live streams weekly. So thanks so much for joining us here on the Front Door Challenge, and thanks so much for joining us here on the movement, the men's movement, and thanks so much for being part of this, because you're part of this community. And when you guys can help and join and do this, you can change the shape of the whole community, as I said. Now, some quick housekeeping before we go. If it's your first time here watching this, what's it called, a live stream, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube, wherever you've seen this or been sent this by your friends, drop us a line, because sometimes you watch this in 3 months' time. Although I'm doing it live today on a blistering cold, wet day, you're watching this live in your bedroom, watching your TV. A lot of guys now are watching this on their big screen TVs in their lounge room. So sit back, relax, get your cup of coffee, have your cup of tea, have your cup of coffee. I think I might have spilled it then. Have your cup of coffee and enjoy, and take your time. It goes for about 30, 40 minutes. We talk about fitness, health, emotional fitness, all sorts of things. And drop me a comment. I point down there. Drop me a comment down there via your computer, via your phone, and I can answer those questions. And later on in the show, I'll show you how you can actually be part of the show and ask me questions. Even if you ask me questions in 3 months' time, when you watch this, we're going to go crazy here, right? Stick with me. This is all about time. If you're watching this in 3 months' time, and then you want to be part of the show, you can record yourself and be part of the show and come back and be part of the next show. So you go back in time, but you can feature in front of yourself. So drop me a chat and we'll ask you and answer any questions you might have. So let's get into this week's movement. Now today, or this week, I'd like to talk to you about thought zappers. We briefly mentioned that last week, but this week I want to talk to you about thought zappers. About Russell, a particular client called Russell at the gym this week. I've got a gym here in Down Under. I want to talk about the difference between consuming and eating. Last week I talked about offering support to your partners with perimenopause and menopause. If you didn't see that, go back and watch some previous episodes if you want to. Last week we talked about menopause and perimenopause or premenopause, and I'd like to share with you a story about consumption and eating and supporting not just your partner, but supporting your whole family. Another thing I'd like to talk to you today about becoming the thinking. I want you to do the thinking. It's really important to do the thinking. And I caught up with the good doctor last week, and I'm going to catch up with him again, hopefully this week, and I'll share what's going to happen, and hopefully with the permission of the doctor and his family, I'm going to see if we can record it and put it to you each week on these live streams, because I think it'll be really fascinating to hear from Dr. Paul. Fantastic doctor. And I think it's really important to share what's happening with Doctor as part of the movement, because the community is not just you, the community is not just people you work with, but the whole community. We're here in Down Under Australia, but it's everyone. And one of the things we're going to do is answer that question we left with you last week about the 2 frogs and taking the action. And one more thing we might mention is a bit about salt. Okay, before we hit any of that, let's get to this week's movements. What's been happening this week at the gym? What's been happening in the movement so far? So last week I talked briefly about supporting your partner. And remember we said about happy trainer, happy gainer, or happy gainer, happy trainer, as I say at the gym. Happy wife, happy life, and all these sort of things about supporting your partners. And I want to talk to you about supporting, the partners in your life and your friends in your life. And one of the things I'd like to mention is what happened I know, actually, I'll come to that later. But before we do, let's talk to you about Russell. Now, Russell asked me a question. He said, one of the members of the gym here in Middle Park, Melbourne, he said, what's better? Should I do 20 minutes of exercise or should I do 30 minutes of exercise? Should I do it for 50 minutes or should I rest for one day? And it got me thinking, your hunt for the best way to do exercise is a distraction from what you know you have to do. Hunting and searching for the best way, guys, is a distraction because you know what to do with exercise. You know you're supposed to exercise. It's not like it's just suddenly, oh, wow, I didn't realize I had to move as a human being. In fact, one of the things we did and helped the brain create when we were back in the ape times, we would come down from the tree, right? And we'd go for a walk. This is really interesting. Stick with me with this. This is really interesting. We'd go for a walk. And by moving, it developed the brain. Because as we went for a walk, we had to remember where we've just come from, that tree. So by moving, it gets the brain active. You know how people talk about this mind-body or body-mind? There's a lot of mind-body things going around. There is no mind and there is no body. It's one of the same. There is no disconnect. People talk about getting mindful. There's no disconnect. So moving and being in movement and being in action is a thing that human beings have to do. So when you ask the question, how much should you do? Think about a kid. A kid doesn't get on a bike and rides around to his mate's house and they go for a ride around the block and they ride and ride and ride and they come back. They don't go, oh, well, look at me. I've only been for 25 minutes. And my intensity was this, and my heart rate was this. I better do 5 more minutes because I've got to meet my goals. I've got to do, so in the words of a guy who was asked this question multiple times, what should you do? He was asked in the 70s, what's better, 10 sets of 4, or 4 sets of 10, 3 sets of 7, 2 sets of 50? He was asked this, and I get asked this a lot, what's better, 20 minutes of cardio? Is boxing better? I'll answer it exactly like this guy answered it. Shut up and train, guys. Just move. Just move. It doesn't matter what you do as long as you move. We'll be back in a moment with the front door or fridge door program. See you soon.
The men's movement. It's like having a personal trainer in your pocket. Only better.
Okay, so here we are back with the front door or fridge door. Where is it? The front door, fridge door. Here we go. So last week we mentioned about the knife. I said there's 2 really important things to get your results. The 2 really important things that will help you get your results. If you didn't see that, I'll quickly recap it. We talked about a knife and a fork. Because if you pick up your knife and pick up your fork when you eat your food and you cut the food with the knife, put the knife down, put the fork to the mouth or food to the mouth, put the fork down, chew, and then you wait, and then you ask yourself, are you hungry? Do you need some more? Or you're merely consuming that? So we talked about that, but the reason why we did that is because I wanted you to get into present time consciousness. It's really important to get into present time consciousness, and I call it PTC, or present time consciousness, for a reason. And that reason is, if we just say get in mindfulness and do mindful eating, it's become so blasé now. It's like, remember that show, it's with the Baker Brothers. I think it was 2 guys on a piano playing piano. And when Michelle Pfeiffer took over from singing one night, she said, let's drop feelings. And he said, no, we can't drop feelings. Feelings is a really important song. Everyone needs to hear it. And she said, her answer was, feelings is like parsley. It's on the plate. No one notices it being there. It's just there. So you've got to get in present time consciousness, because people say a mindfulness, it's just there, it's just words. So I want you to get into present time consciousness, because that jogs them. It's different. It's a slap in the face. I wanted to show you that, or tell you that, because get in the present time consciousness and get in the moment and eat your food. Because if you eat your food, you'll get a result. If you consume your food, merely consume your food, you'll eat like the habit of just eating. I talked about the habit last week of eating in the psychology app where you eat the M&Ms. I talked about that guy was eating the M&Ms. He was eating a pack of M&Ms a day. You know that guy I said was eating a pack of M&Ms a day? He's down to 2 M&Ms. Just 2. Only eating 2. He opens a drawer, has 1 M&M, and he eats it. He doesn't consume mindfully from the drawer. He eats it. Okay, so he gets in the present time consciousness. So it's really important to eat the food and to know the difference between eating food and consuming food. And just on that, it's really important for this because I want you to become the thin king and do the thinking. Like that, playing words, the thin king, and do the thinking. Because when you think about what you're eating, knife, fork, pick it up, put the knife down, put the fork down and eat. You'll eat food. But if you merely consume food, you'll put on weight. And if you eat food, if you merely consume food, you put on weight. When you eat food and slow down and eat mindfully or present time conscious, whatever, it's a powerful way to lose weight. The knife and fork are 2 very powerful things to lose weight. So eating, consuming. So I had a bit of an argument or discussion today, and they say about arguments and discussions, an argument is an exchange of arrogance, but a discussion is an exchange of intelligence. So I possibly had a bit of an argument today with my partner because my child asked a question. She said, you know, when you eat food and consume food, what's the difference between eating and consuming? And I went to answer it, and my wife said, no, you're confusing her. Consuming food is anything you eat. And I said, no. Consuming food is eating mindlessly. And she goes, well, what about mindful eating? And it went where I didn't want it to go. So let's hone it down, guys. When you eat your food and you're mindful about eating and you're in present time consciousness, you're eating food. If you're mindlessly eating food, I call that consuming food without splitting hairs. So you can take that with as many grains of salt as you want. And I'm going to talk about salt when we come back after this quick break.
The men's movement. It's like having a personal trainer in your pocket. Only better.
Okay, so we're talking about salt. And this week at the gym, I had a person I was training and they've lost weight. They've lost about so much weight. They haven't been in this body shape for 16 years. For 16 years, and they're plateauing out. They've done all the fantastic things. They're training twice a day, and they're changing their food, and they haven't changed much of their food. They've just got in the present time consciousness, which I'm going to tell you how to in a second. But they've stabilised. They've plateau out, and the plateau outs are really interesting. So as a trainer, I'm looking at this plateau out phase. I'm trying to work out why. I'm going through her diet with her and her food and stuff. I said, "How's your salt intake?" Because your salt intake is really important, and I can't find my overhead video camera today. It wasn't working, so I have to do this like this and hold it up to you. I apologise for this, but I said, "How's your salt content?" Because the body wants homeostasis. I want to talk about salt. And I said to her, how's your salt intake? She goes, oh, I hardly eat salt at all. And then after a couple of sort of conversations with her, she's explained to me she has salt on pretty much everything. And just in 1 week, her weight's starting to budge because she's no longer having the salt. So I want to show you this. The body wants homeostasis. Homeo means body. Homeo sapiens, homeo's body. And stasis means balance. The body wants balance. So if you're taking in this much, this is salt in a glass of water. So this represents the body, the glass of water. Very simplistic science, guys. If you're taking in, there's salt in your water, salt in the body. But if you double the salt in your body, like I said, the body wants homeostasis, it wants balance. You know, without getting too technical, what do you think the water's going to do? The body wants the ratios, the same balance. It's going to double. I better put that one down there and make it better for the drawing. Can you believe I used to be a math science teacher, and my drawings were just as good now? I don't know why my kids didn't pass. And so if we double the salt, we've got to double the water. It's 2 times the water. So if this is X, that's 2X. I've got too many X's, haven't I? Make it Y, distinguish it from the pluses down there. So if you double the amount of salt in your diet, you'll double the amount of water. And water weighs and also inflames you. So you'll be inflamed and That's why we say with salt, it inflames you, it puts pressure, builds up blood pressure, because the inflammation goes up. So if you increase your salt and maintain your salt, you've actually caught the pen rolling off that thing over there. How very skilled. So if you double the salt, you increase the inflammation in your body. So she was having salt. Now she's reduced, or I don't know if she's going to eliminate salt, but she's reduced her salt. She goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe how much salt I put into everything." And I said, "You don't put salt in everything. You used to put salt into everything." And she goes, "You're right. I used to put salt into everything." So it's really important to be conscious of this and be getting the present time conscious with this, because it's, if you don't do this and don't take the action on this, which we'll talk about in a moment, this is what sort of like is going to limit you and hinder your progress. So as you're changing your food, you're now walking and you're moving and you're doing your exercises and nothing's budging, because really a lot of people want to get that weight loss change. They go for the weight loss. No one gets up in the morning and really says, "I want to be super, super fit." They usually say, "I don't like the weight I am, don't like the shape I am, and that's why I want to start exercising." So it's counterintuitive. It's like saying I need to put petrol in the car and go into the service station and put water in the radiator. However, without splitting hairs with that one, I have split hairs a lot because it's so hard with this stuff, because the words are really significant here. But this is the sort of stuff we talk about on the 30-day challenge, because on the 30-day challenge, I give you the 30-day training sessions. For 30 days, you get trained by me. And we also talk about these sort of things on the 30-day challenge. You'll learn so much. And then when you come back and be part of the weekly live streams, we learn more and more. And we've got a special thing for you guys. If you haven't already got it, please get it. Where is it? Here it is. Scan this code here. Please scan that code. Get your phones out. So if you are watching this on your big screen TV, get your phones out. And if you're not watching it on the big screen TV, go to the links, always below, aren't they? Go to the links up there or wherever they are on your computer. Scan that and you'll get my free copy, or you'll get your free copy, not my free copy. I had to write the book. And in fact, I used to, how I wrote this book? I wrote it with a pen. About 23 years ago, I wrote this book with a pen. As opposed to a lot of people writing their books with AI now. But get into that book. Get your free copy of the book, please, because you're welcome. I hope you